Well, the question we have today is, have LUMIX fixed the overheating problem in the new LUMIX cameras? I think they're the S1 range, and there's two cameras that are in question. And LUMIX have brought out a new software update, and now it allows you to film longer. But this may be great because now you can use your camera and you can actually film long, because it was something like about 5 minutes before, if you was using it in the 6K, it would shut off, which for someone like me who's a wedding videographer, you need a camera to go for about an hour, because some of these church weddings go for like 45 minutes plus, and you need that camera can't be interrupted. You need to rely on those cameras to keep filming. So if I've got a camera that can only go for 5 minutes or 6 minutes, I don't want to be going there and going and pushing that button again a number of times throughout the ceremony. First of all, it interrupts the service, and I may forget and you miss some footage, and then you have a number of clips in post to work with. So having this extended time to be able to film is really great. It's a really good option. But has it really fixed the overheating issue? Because all they've really done is change the thermostat level. So what they've done is they're saying once it gets to a certain temperature, instead of it shutting down, we're going to allow it to get hotter so it keeps running. And I'm actually filming this now on the S5ii, and this actually has a thermal restriction on it in the 6K mode, which I am filming in now with an anamorphic lens on it and the open gate. So when you go in there, it locks to 30 minutes. I can't use this camera in 6K open gate for more than 30 minutes. But you can go into a menu setting and you can select it. So you can film longer than 30 minutes. But when you do that, boy, does that camera get really hot. And there's actually a warning that comes up when you change that setting and tells your camera can get really hot and so forth. And something that people are missing here is when you make something, all of the components in there will have some manufacturer specifications. Say, look, this is operating temperature. This card can only operate this chip can only operate at this temperature. And if you see that, then the manufacturer is saying that you've exceeded the design parameters of that chip or that card or whatever that component is you've put into that camera. So that's what I believe they're doing. They're exceeding these limits. And what people don't understand as well is when you run something hotter, like in your camera, and your cards are running hotter and everything's running hotter, you actually deteriorate not only the life of those components, but you also deteriorate the quality of your image, because the sensors have an optimum running temperature for them to produce the best image. Now, we probably can't see this because when we get into our edit, it gets compressed, and then when we put it up onto social media, it gets compressed. So it probably, at the whole scheme of things, at the end of the day, makes very little difference. But it is taxing the components at a significant level. And when you go to the higher end, which is like proper film cameras that they use for proper productions, they have very big housings and they have lots of holes in them and they have fans. And this is specifically to keep the sensors and the electronics cool, because it actually affects the performance of the image coming from the sensor. So the question is there, really, has LUMIX fixed the problem, or have they just manipulated the software to allow the equipment to run over specification? And I would probably say it's the latter, because without changing the firmware or without putting a fan in, a bigger fan in, or some way of creating extra ventilation and basically cooling the components so their thermal limit stays below a specified limit, they haven't really fixed anything. All they've done is just change the parameter that says, hey, once you get to this temperature, turn off. They're saying, well, now we're going to increase that temperature. So guys, leave your comments down below. What is your thinking on this? My thinking is, if you want to buy a camera that you want it to run for a long time, right? You need the application like me. You're doing a wedding. The camera needs to be able to run for an hour, because, when you switch it on before the bride comes down the aisle, and you might switch it off after all of the signing and everything, which could be an hour. I can't buy a camera that is going to overheat. I need to go out and purchase a camera that's fit for purpose. So I only purchase cameras that don't overheat in the frame rates and the way I'm going to use them. And also that ceremony could be outdoors in the garden. I live in Australia, so it's hot here. So I wouldn't be buying the new LUMIX S1 range for that specific reason. It's just not fit for purpose for me. Anyway, guys, that's my thoughts on it, and I'll see you next vid.